if I had to ask you all right now, what is the biggest threat to the Second Amendment?
Mom's not getting enough action.
All right.
I
I
think
mean,
that's the core of it.
in a way,
Yeah. Legislation change.
legislation. So, are we saying politicians?
I
Yeah.
disagree. I'm going to say rogue district attorneys.
Yeah,
I
like
think
a
you could
legal
say the
system.
judicial system, the legal system in generics are the biggest threat to it, right? Because you can have, like in California, you have all these wacky rulings, right? Because they always appeal in the Ninth Circuit over there and they always get struck down and they have to appeal higher and higher and higher every single time, unless, Benitez is involved in it in some way, right? So, no, I think the judicial system is definitely one of the top ones for sure.
I think the real answer is Napa know-how and the Zog.
Or orange juice and Napa know-how. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's if I had to, I'm trying to think of a way to surmise this. I would say it's actually going to be NGOs specifically. It's going to be places like Every Town for Gun Safety or some of these other organizations that are essentially funded with a blank check that can go over anyone and anyone for any reason whatsoever, right? And they can basically muscle these companies, not even using the legal system. Well, using the legal system, but not like criminal, like civilly, right? And they can civilly bully these people to get them to do what they want. I mean, if you can get Glock to discontinue all of its production handguns, like you're exercising an extreme amount of power. Now, when it comes to the marketing side of it, I think there is a point when it comes to like YouTube is the biggest threat to the Second Amendment, because I think YouTube has been the biggest boon for the Second Amendment, at least in terms of marketing and getting people into the sphere, at least tangentially, right?
Well, also in like moving the Overton window in the gun community on like why do we shoot, why do we train, why do we own gear? Because there's still a lot of people, my dad's this way, who thinks civilians shouldn't own NVGs and lasers, and even AR 30 round mags are kind of a bit much in his opinion. Now he still owns them, high cap mags at least,
of course
but it's just one of those things where for a long time we didn't really know what we were driving to for this, and COVID probably was the biggest catalyst. Is like, hey, we have a tangible threat of organized tyranny. We need a capable fighting force to defend ourselves, our freedoms.
Mm-hmm. I think that has gone hand in hand with we've talked about this before, but if Tom Foe is still here, the kind of political polarization, the right-wing shift in Gen C has also been pushed a lot on YouTube, a lot on social media. People have access to these ideas. They have thought leaders in this direction where they have access to the political ideology and like the capability side of it, right? Which is the guns and the training, stuff like that. So I think those two things going hand in hand are huge for the average person. Now you could say that, okay, well, the left has the same access to stuff. They have the same thought leaders. Yeah. They're 20 years behind the right. They're basically a second thought, right? On the individual level, they can be scary to you and your family. But as like an organizational level, if it ever came down to it, like they're nothing. They're nothing. They're going to be rolled in 15 minutes, right? Right now, they only have power because they can blend in and do kind of a lone wolf attack or something like that. That's really their strength right now. But let's hear what RTT has to say.
Now, I know there's a bunch of YouTube simps out there, even in the gun community, a bunch of YouTube simps out there that will tell you that YouTube isn't against guns. They're lying to you. YouTube hates the fact that people like me are on YouTube, and they hate the fact that people like you, people who just tune into view, are able to use their platform to look up gun content. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So I teased the other day in my live stream the other night that I was going to be making.
Yeah, our RTT is Old Man Christmas. Yes, indeed. Now, I agree that YouTube dislikes gun content on the platform. They've restricted it. They've gone back and forth a little bit because they used to be a lot worse in terms of monetization, and then it kind of got a little better, and then it kind of got a little worse. But by and large, YouTube or GunTube itself is a large sphere, like large in terms of like the raw dollar amount, the raw amount of viewers, but compared to everybody else, like it's pretty small. It's one of the more niche communities online for sure.
It's one of the only ones that I know that's policed as hard as it is, though.
100%. Yeah, it is under
you
the
know.
most scrutiny for sure. For sure.
In this video, and as you can see from the title, is that YouTube is the biggest threat to the Second Amendment, and I will lay out my case for that. And I truly hope that if any of it makes sense to you guys out there, whether you're a creator or a viewer,
as soon as anything right wing is mentioned, it's people like, I love Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is the future, and then other people being like, if Nick were sincere in his beliefs, he would self-deport. I love the fighting.
that you share this, that you also join in making this message very loud on your own channels as well. So YouTube is, in my opinion, in fact, right, is what I would say, the biggest threat to the Second Amendment. So step one, or stage one, I guess, or chapter one. Chapter one being politicians. So politicians are often like regarded as the biggest threat to the Second Amendment, both right and left. Unfortunately, there's a thing that the right does where we tend to relax when people on the right are in power in the government. The right has, including organizations like NRA, the right has been responsible for far more gun control being enacted, actually passing and enacting, than the left. The left certainly pushes for gun control more often, I would say. But as far as what we live under today, as far as gun control goes, it's far more the right than the left.
I agree with that 100%. So like under Trump's first term, we got the bump stock ban, we got some red flag laws, which are big losses, big no-nos, big stupid moves that eventually, right, got overturned like years and years later. While the Democrats advocate for things, while they certainly push for a lot of things, they aren't particularly successful because when Republicans aren't in power, they're actually motivated to do things, right? Somehow. And I think that it also has to do with when Trump was in power in 2016, we also had the best prices we ever had on basically anything, right? You were picking up like brass 5.56 for 19 cents a round or something like that. Absolutely ridiculous in terms of what you could buy for the money. A kind of golden age in terms of buying power. And so people get pretty complacent when that type of thing is happening, right? People don't really have a lot to worry about. Guns are cheap, ammo is cheap and plentiful. Our guy's in power. He's saying something dumb, he's saying something stupid, he's doing something stupid, but I'm just going to kind of ignore it right now. Whereas when we're not in power,
historic lows, well, they'll keep coming down, and yeah, I heard it several times, and then something happened, and then 2020 happened.
Yeah. Well, and again, you know what? All the Democrat politicians. Now, I will say that where Democrats are very effective is within their own states. They're very effective at getting legislation passed. California continues to get worse and worse. Oregon continues to get worse and worse. Or Washington, where I used to live for 27 years, basically kicked me out overnight. And there's going to be a handful of other states that are going to be following suits when it comes to parts bans, barrel bans, accessory bans, basically not being able to buy any modern semi-automatic firearm, right? So I think Democrats are very, very successful at the state level while not being particularly effective at the federal level, whereas Republicans don't do anything at the state level, unfortunately, usually, and actually get some passed federally somehow because our politicians are retarded. You know, well, they don't really serve us, right? I mean, come on, we all know.
Yeah, it is hilarious that Republicans are better at passing gun control laws federally than Democrats are.
Skill issue, right?
Skill issue, misinput.
misinput. Yeah, I mean, what do Republicans actually get passed? Now that you think about it, it's like, what are they good at getting passed?
Additional funding for themselves.
Well, I was gonna say tax reform, yeah, and
$6 billion to
Giving
Israel.
money to Israel.
yeah, well, yeah. So it's basically like tax plans and funding bills. Like that's
Again,
what
more
Republicans
money
get.
to themselves.
That's what Republicans are good at. High success rate. Are we still shut down? By the way, the government's still shut down, right?
Yes.
Has
I hope
anybody
so.
has anybody noticed? Right? I mean, to everybody who's out there working a federal job and you're not getting paid right now, thoughts and prayers to you. That sucks. I mean, honestly, on the individual level, that's tragic. But
Man,
like holistically, I am glad that the EBT be shut down for the moment. You know,
man, they cut off my EBT.
not
Shit.
again, man. Shit, dog.
I'm gonna go down to the liquor.
I'm gonna go have to murder
Gotta
this
feed my
boy and his
kids.
fiance. Damn, man.
Damn,
Dude,
dog.
I wish I had that meme, but somebody sent me this earlier. If you're watching it, dude, resend me that meme of that black chick saying that she's starving. She's like 400 pounds, but she's like, I'm starving out here. It's like,
Yeah.
Really?
I think I know what
Stick
you're
with
talking about.
Patrick
Really?
after he ate SpongeBob's.
now I'm gonna starve. Is that in memes?
I'm
Somebody should
gonna
send that.
starve.
No, I'm gonna starve. Yeah, soda is, dude. Yeah, Coke and Pepsi, they're all scrambling to put everything on sale so that they actually maintain sales, right? Because nobody's buying our stuff anymore. What happened?
But politicians are often blamed for gun control, for the loss of the Second Amendment and losses to the Second Amendment. That true enough that politicians are to blame for most of it. However, we are fortunate that we have a legal system that they often have to go through in order to pass these things. And we are at a stage now where they've pushed and passed, and things have been voted down, and things have been voted, ruled unconstitutional so much, so often that there's a ton of precedent that in the things that they routinely want, like these bans and things like that, oftentimes are already set in precedent with court cases that they'll never go anywhere. Also, we've been pretty lucky, and it's not been perfect, but we've been pretty lucky lately with the Supreme Court being on our side with this, or on the side of.
Yes, the Supreme Court has not handed us a major loss in a while. So whether you love Trump or hate Trump, that is Supreme Court judges. He's been very, very lucky with those. Very lucky.
The Second Amendment, I should say, on the
Honestly,
actual side of the Constitution.
I would give all the
Go ahead.
credit to Clarence Thomas, my favorite bass black man, Agarthan,
Mhm.
honorary Agarthan.
Can I show? I can't
he's
show
putting
this
in
on
the Lord's
YouTube,
work.
can I? Can't
You've
show
shown
this
it
background on
before.
YouTube. Have I shown it on
You've
YouTube
shown it before. Yeah, well, yeah, you did.
Did I? Are you
Briefly.
sure?
We're an hour and a half
remember.
in. I think you're safe.
Is
I
it this
mean,
one? Oh, you can't.
Yeah.
I don't even know. How do I?
You can't see
Enter
it,
this-
John. It's not even there.
You guys get it all. Black Sun, Clarence over there.
Lately. So I do believe that, with the exception of some states that seem to get away with whatever they want to, like New York and California, Massachusetts, things like that, that seem to be able to get away with obviously unconstitutional gun control. On the legal end of it, we've been pretty darn lucky here, especially here recently. So there's that. The politicians are definitely an enemy to firearms, right? Like politicians and rust, right? That's the saying. Politicians or rust are the biggest enemies to firearms, or the biggest threat to firearms. So there's a certain amount of that's true. However, I don't think politicians are the number one threat to the Second Amendment and to private ownership of firearms. Chapter 2. These gun advocacy groups. And I'll even lump the NRA in there, even though the NRA has given the thumbs up to every major piece of gun control legislation in the last 100 years, or close to 100 years, like 80 years.
I want to see a graph of all of the money and funding that the NRA has taken versus their output of positive legislation.
I can
Right.
get that for you.
So it's got to be hundreds of millions of dollars, right?
Andrew
what?
from ARPCOM did a very good video on who got what money and what they actually spent on it. Let's see if I can find that for you.
Yeah, but I want to know the total number of donations to the NRA versus what they've actually gotten passed, like what successfully they've litigated,
So
blocked, or proposed.
the NRA has two sides to it. They have the fundraising side, and then they have the NRA ILA, which is the litigative side. So they have it separated for
Tax reasons, probably, or so that they can hide the money, or that they can, have $1 million salaries and put the money into suits. And like, what did he spend $100,000 on suits, or was it $100,000 on flights?
40,000 on one suit.
Oh, my bad. I got the numbers mixed up. But
yeah,
I
John,
think,
you don't realize how expensive Coke is, okay?
dude,
Maybe
I
one
guess,
day.
man. I mean, Richard has the freaking Coke numbers off the top of his head. He can tell you the street price on a kilo just like that. Damn. He's probably the one sourcing it for the NRA, to be honest.
That's Richard's
The most
autism.
important thing.
Richard's like,
about-
who's your Coke guy? Who's your Coke guy? Huh? What are you spending on this stuff? He's like cutting it, telling you the purity levels and whatnot. He's like, this is bad. This isn't worth $6K a kilo. Come on.
I know a guy.
The NRA definitely has a lot of recognition, and there is this sort of punching bag theory around it where they can eat up a lot of the frivolous lawsuits to protect some of the quote unquote better organizations. They also do things like NRA RSOs and safety instructors. Those are the most recognized firearms instructors.
but those are also cringe. I mean, I get that
It
they
is
serve a
cringe,
purpose, but
but
they're kind of cringe.
like if you want to get a license in a lot of states, you're going to have to take a class by someone who is certified by the NRA.
Mhm.
And
Nose beard. Yeah. Dude, Kevin Cracks Rocks, Netanyahu Rifle Association. That PFP, I need that. That's good. It's true. It's probably sourcing for Caltech, to be honest. It's true.
So
Given the
I don't know if you guys ever seen the story that I post every once in a while on Discord, but the mayor's son of the city where Caltech is located was taken down in a cocaine trafficking ring. The memes are real.
Right. That checks out. You know, I think they were just having their designers and engineers locked in a basement somewhere. Like I have Anna right now, and they were just throwing a bag of cocaine every couple days and seeing what they could cook up. Interesting strategy. It paid off though, right? I mean, you've seen their designs.
Comes up to every major piece of gun control legislation, even ones that didn't, like things like the bump stock ban, things that were ruled unconstitutional. But then there's other agencies, there's other groups like Gun Owners of America, FPC, things like that, NAGR, and
I love Nagger. I really feel that they missed an opportunity with naming it the National Institute for Gun Rights. But I get it, right? However, Nagger is funny, and if I ever took a sponsorship from a gun rights advocacy group, it would be Nagger. But I would just always call it the National Institute for Gun Rights and like spell it out like every time. That would be part of the joke in the ad read.
I know there's others that are just not coming to my brain right now. The problem is that they oftentimes are only concerned about court cases, right? Existing court cases, or taking on something that is on a local, federal, or state level in lawsuits. Because again, there's a legal process to these things, and that is in our advantage because we have the Second Amendment. They don't tend to take on social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, lost causes.
Okay, I didn't know if that was my internet crashing out. My internet should be flawless. I don't know what the problem is.
Facebook and Instagram are lost causes to the Second Amendment to firearms. Anybody who has a firearms centric business knows this, and anybody.
Now, this is something that's about to come up in this video, but talking about what's the right word for this? Gun visibility online, right? Because while they go after civil and federal and state court cases and whatnot, going after private companies for their improper handling of firearms content, right? Because I would argue in a lot of ways that these companies like Meta, like YouTube, like Google and their search algorithms and stuff like that, I think that they do illegally discriminate against gun content, right? I think they violate their own terms of service, but we haven't.
U.S. law. How they get around it is through international law. They say, well, in Germany, in Australia, all that stuff's illegal, and we want to keep one version for everyone. So they use that to censor the Americans.
Well, they do the
Yes,
same
but
thing for the rest of America and California.
But what I'm saying is, I think that somebody has to have the muscle or the fortitude to kind of go after them. Now, we talk about a big company like Glock, right? Folding to litigation. Google ain't gonna fold to litigation, right? Whatever lawsuits we're facing Glock, like Google wouldn't even notice, right? Google is a monster, a Lovecraftian horror beyond comprehension in terms of the money that they can bring to bear, right? So trying to bully Google into actually treating companies fairly and individuals fairly, well, I think by the letter of the law, they are a problem. I think getting them to actually behave is going to be like a real issue. But I think if an organization could actually take up the mantle, so to speak, to go after them in a lawsuit, in a class action lawsuit, and something, it would at least be interesting. Because especially now, something like that might actually happen if one of these companies, like let's just say YouTube, that we're all currently on right now, right? If they tomorrow said no more YouTube gun videos, it's all gone, and they deleted all of it, I think you would see some lawsuits pop up from that. Would it be efficacious? Would it actually make a change? Who knows? But right now, I don't think there's any real motivation to make something like that happen.
YouTube has like they try to take advantage of both being a publisher and a platform, and they're supposed to abide by certain rules, I think, as a platform, but they try to act as a private publisher.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
yeah, well, they try and play both sides, but I think again, whether they can be held to account by a private organization suing them or federally, right, in violation of publishing law or something like that, right?
well,
Because I mean, Twitter got threatened by that during the first Trump administration.
yeah, I think that the threat is to say, you're going to lose your platform protections if you don't start acting like a platform.
Yeah, and you can be held liable for what you post, right? Because that's the big difference, right? Because Google would be terrified if they could be held liable for what's on their platform.
The two best ways to do it, a private company, probably you would have fundraising issues to like be able to fight Google.
Millions and millions of dollars. Yeah.
Again, getting into a federal or even state position and then using taxpayer money to go after them.
Yeah, one way or the other, we're paying for it.
Or the other thing you can do is you could go into the institution itself of Google and try to subvert it from within, get onto the hiring boards, get into HR, and just change the culture that way slowly over time.
Yeah, do a reverse infiltration. Problem is, I'm the wrong. See, they've established themselves in positions of power, and then they've fortified themselves with all the HR types that only hire their own, so to speak. So I'm actually the wrong skin color to get on the board.
We can fix
who is a
that.
firearms
There are ways around this issue, yes.
enthusiast on either platform knows this. There is no rhyme or reason, and they will ban, block, and delete your accounts at a whim for anything that doesn't go, for anything, even if it doesn't go against their policies, just because it's firearms related. So Facebook and Instagram are total lost causes. Anything that people like us, whether you're an enthusiast, a store owner, a business owner, or a YouTuber, anything we post on there that doesn't get deleted is truly a miracle. But the GOAs and the FPCs and so on, they don't go after Second Amendment Foundation. That was another one that I was thinking of.
Randy, I'm gonna have to write another joke about you. Tragic. Congratulations, you made my next video, Randy. Unbelievable.
They don't go after the social media companies for doing these things. Maybe it's because there's not legal precedent yet. I'm not sure. I'm not going to pretend that I'm a lawyer or that I know how that would even look. But I do know that they don't go after these platforms. So yeah, I mean, again, we have a legal structure. These organizations go after anti-gunners on the legal end of it, which again, good for us. We have the Second Amendment to do that with. Chapter 3, YouTube. YouTube, it is my opinion that I can objectively say that YouTube is the biggest threat to the Second Amendment. Why do I say that? I say that because print media is all but dead, right? Print media is all but dead. And as far as like TVs, basic cable, like people don't really have, I know they do have cable, but like cable isn't as big of a thing as like streaming services anymore, like Roku and things like that. Firearms content hasn't been legal in a commercial like that for years now. So we can't get exposure. And when I say exposure, I don't mean on the YouTube side, like a video like my videos. That's not the exposure I'm talking about. I'm talking about the exposure of safe gun ownership, what's coming out, what's being brought to the industry, and sales through things like television type commercials. Haven't been able to do that for a long time. And this leaves us with digital media. This leaves us with social media, digital media, our own websites, those sort of things. And Google is the biggest boy on the block when it comes to digital media. They are the second highest search platform on the internet next to Google. And Google owns them. And then what's it called? Alphabet Company or something owns Google. But Google owns YouTube. And so really you could say that Google or YouTube is the largest search platform on the internet. What happens when you can't search gun content anymore? What happens when pro 2A voices are silenced because print media is dead? You can't be on TV and talk about it. And the last bastion of free speech being social media, and you can make the arguments about platform versus publisher and things like that, right? Those arguments can be made. But the last bastion of free speech being social media, when they no longer allow pro 2A advocates, they no longer allow firearms companies to advertise or to even show their products. They no longer allow gun reviewers to tell you, people like me, to tell you my experiences with a firearm or a product. What happens when that's no longer allowed? Well, the Second Amendment dies. The Second Amendment
All right, so there is the crux of his video. The crux of the argument is that if YouTube decides to, like, he's giving essentially saying that YouTube has the power to completely remove the voice from the Second Amendment because, for, I suppose, he is correct that this is where most people get any of their 2A information, whether it's marketing, reviews, news, litigation updates, or anything else like that. And I suppose this is a place where communities come together and kind of metastasize or come together to fight a common enemy, right? So like if a specific law is getting passed in a specific state, you'll see, you know, your 5 usual suspect law gun tubers making a video about it and saying, all right, guys, you guys got to call XYZ number to get it done, to, you know, make sure that this bill doesn't pass or to try and get this bill passed. Like if you guys remember the big push earlier this year for the big beautiful bill to get the HPA and the Short Act passed, right? It was all hands on deck, call everybody, people making videos on it every day. We talked about it basically for 2 weeks straight, talking about it every stream, every update that was going on with that. But to his point, if we were all gone, would the Second Amendment just die? I actually don't think so. I think it would be a big hit, but I think that other platforms would get bigger, of course, right? Most people would probably migrate to actually X or Instagram or Rumble. It would still take a big hit because Google and YouTube is so large, and there would be a huge loss. Like if every gun video on YouTube was deleted, so much content would be erased from the internet because so many of those really, really niche videos, really niche how-to stuff, really like esoteric knowledge videos on certain firearms or certain bullets or whatever it might be would be irreplaceable because some of those people are straight up dead. Some of the people are no longer active and whatnot. And so there would be a huge like information loss. Like it would be the burning of the Library of Alexandria 100-fold, right? In terms of lost knowledge on YouTube products or on gun products, right? So I think that there is a point there. However, I don't think it's possible, or at least I don't see it happening anytime soon without state or federal regulation forcing YouTube to restrict gun content. I don't see them actually getting rid of it from the platform. I don't know.
I think his
is probably how they would do it.
No, they'll get every town to sue YouTube.
Ordnance Lab changed their name, but like they had a video up talking about how a lot of suppressor companies accidentally violate ITAR regulations when they post videos that show like cutaways of their suppressors, especially flow-through ones, because you're showing technical data on suppressors. So that could be an approach on how they do it. It's not you're violating any one nation's law. No, you're violating international law by showing information about the manufacture, the use, operation of firearms. So we got to shut that down.
Right, but wouldn't that would only get rid of what 0.1% of gun videos, right? Like almost nothing, right? In terms of the mass,
broad they're able to make the definition.
Well, I think this guy's main argument, right, is he kind of started with YouTube and then extrapolated out to like Google as a like a whole. And I think his final argument kind of seemed to evolve into what happens when you can't even Google search firearm content at all. You know, it's just not accessible to you as an internet user. There's still gun stores. There's still gun shows. There's still a gun culture that exists. There's a lot of retailers and sporting goods stores that exist. And I think it would just increase the desire to actually create events that get people into the space. Right. But it would be in a very much, it wouldn't be in an online way in that people would disseminate that. I mean, they could probably like say, hey, we're meeting here.
As far as I'm aware, like there isn't any countries or states that outright ban searches for firearm products, right? So like if I was in the UK, I could probably look, well, of course, I mean, we have probably UK guys watching this right now. You can still watch firearms content. Like in the most liberal hellhole countries out there right now, you can still look up firearms content. You can still look up firearms information. So to think that that would happen soon, you know, and future, anything could be possible, right? There are wacky timelines that we could absolutely go down. But to think that Google itself would stop even hosting firearm searches, right? So like you could not search up Brownells or primary arms or any of these other things on Google. That's basically unthinkable right now and under the current paradigm.
Yeah.
Because again, even the
I think-
most liberal, restrictive countries in the world, outside of places like North Korea, right? You can just access that stuff for free, right? It's just sitting there. There's no sort of restrictions on what you can and can't access.
I think the idea of a total and utter like restriction of anything firearm related, I don't think it's possible.
It's not
I
gonna
really
happen.
don't.
It
I
won't
think
happen
in the
because
event-
one simple
well-
reason: rap videos.
Okay. Well, I think in the event that YouTube specifically gets rid of the content, there's enough people in this community. It would migrate to X or Rumble, probably X, because it's a more viable platform. Worst case scenario, all information of firearms is scrubbed from the internet. There was a Second Amendment before the internet existed, right? To say the Second Amendment dies with YouTube, just YouTube, I think is quite an exaggeration, in my opinion.
I think it would be a blow, right?
It would be a
YouTube
blow, yeah.
banned all gun content and deleted all the gun content, because again, a lot of that stuff's not backed up anywhere. A lot of the owners are dead. A lot of the owners aren't active anymore. They don't have the original files. So like if like I have every video I've ever made, all of it on my hard drive. It's impossible for like no matter what happened to YouTube or whatnot, I still physically have those files. A lot of these like again niche, cool, interesting, informative how-to videos on YouTube simply would not exist anymore, and it would be a great loss of knowledge.